So the question always becomes in a car like this, how does it go? Woo! There you go. Hey friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I've been spending some time this week with a 2016 Dodge Charger RT, but not just any RT. This one's got the Bumblebee on the grill here, and that means Scat Pack. And what that means is a whole lot more power. This has the SRT 6.4 or 392 V8 in it, which means a lot more power, a lot. Let's check it out. Even on a blustery gray day like this, the B5 blue pearl coat paint on this thing still jumps out at you with a vivid punch. In the sun, trust me, it's really sweet to look at. But getting to business, the RT Scat Pack comes with a few extras on the visual end over the standard RT. These start with a unique design for their 20 by 9 inch wheels with 245/45 ZR tires, and behind them you can see the Brembo 4-piston brake upgrade with slotted rotors. Down the sides it gets rocker trim from the SRT to fatten out the look quite a bit. Up front it gets an angrier looking SRT front fascia with a NACA-ducted hood. The Scat Pack still comes with the base halogen headlights, but you can upgrade to the HIDs with the package. And as noted at the beginning of this video, you also get the Bumblebee Scat Pack badge on its own unique grille. At the rear, a black decklit spoiler continues the retro theme along with what Dodge calls a Heritage RT badge. It looks good, I think, altogether, and one thing of note is that the exhaust tips here are the real deal. No trim pieces glued to the rear fascia. They do get hot though, so don't be touching them. Because the RT Scat Pack is meant to be a plain wrapper performance car, the interior is strictly business. Though you can option it with leather, it has cloth wrapped sports seats with the Bumblebee logo. A number of bits and pieces are brought in from the SRT, like aluminum trim pedals and upgraded dash and console trims. The steering wheel is a thicker step-up in design with paddle shifters, ahead of which you can see a 180 mph speedometer. And there, unique to the Scat Pack, is its animated B graphic you get when you start it up. And space is plentiful in the Charger, which is one of the reasons it's always been a standout in today's market, as there simply are no other competitors that offer a powerful rear-wheel drive sedan like this, also considered a large car. Not at this price point anyway. Space back here is actually pretty good, much better than in the two-door Challenger Coupe. Now headroom here, it's not bad. I still have a couple inches over my head, even though this roof does sort of have a fastback line to it. The doors curve down. You really do have to be careful getting in and out so you don't bump your head there, but once you're in here it's fine. And as you can see here, legroom's very good. These seats, I always have them about halfway between forward and back, so they can come back quite a ways. I would still be okay, I think, with my knees. Now, the seating position, you do sit down low in this back seat. It's actually got some nice bolstering here, so you feel like you're sitting snug in it, and I like that. It sort of takes off the fact that we do have a low seating position and the knees are perched up because you have a little bit of extra support here. Now, this middle section, it is raised, so if you had to sit in the middle, you definitely know it. Not quite as comfortable as this. And I like the fact that there's vents back here, but there's also USB ports, two of them, so you can plug in devices, charge them, do whatever you need to do back here. Those rear seats do fold down in a 60/40 split like most to extend the trunk space, which itself is pretty generous and lined with decent quality materials. One letdown is the fact that underneath that floor is no spare tire, but instead an emergency inflator. If you cut your tire open, you're calling a tow truck. The dash is relatively new in design, having been revised in a recent refresh. It has a more retro feel to it, akin to the 1970s. The materials are better though, now with a rubbery soft touch, and the general layout of controls is much more modern. I gotta tell you, I'm pretty happy with this interior, and for a number of different reasons. First of all, it's just a very simple design. It's not overwrought with a lot of different things going on. It's just very simple, yet It's put together with some pretty good materials here. The other thing I like are these seats. These are the nice SRT sports seats for all intents, yet they've got cloth on them, and so they hold you really tight. They're very comfortable, and you don't slip around like you do on the leather. Now granted, the leather that you get here is sort of a suede type leather if you go all the way there, but I just really like this cloth. It's the way I'd order this car. The packaging here just really hits all my buttons, so in that way I give this interior 5 stars. When it comes to technologies, the RT Scat Pack comes with a mid-grade Alpine audio system with 8.4-inch touchscreen. Ours was optioned for an extra $695 with a navigation system which brings a few additional things. Audio quality was reasonably good, but not audiophile material. The Uconnect system's very easy to use, always getting my praise, but when it comes to connectivity, we have yet to see Apple CarPlay or Android Auto available here, putting the technology score at 4 of 5 stars. What's under the hood though is really what the Scat Pack is all about. Instead of the RT's 5.7-liter V8, you step up to the bigger and meatier SRT 392 or 6.4-liter V8 with 485 horsepower. It has gobs of torque too with 475 pound-feet. While you can get a manual transmission in the 2-door Challenger with this engine, here it comes only with an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission that Chrysler calls Torque Flight. It also has a 4-cylinder fuel-saving mode for when power isn't needed. So the question always becomes in a car like this, how does it go? Woo! There you go. Crazy, man. Woo! That is ticket material all day long. It's loud, it's gnarly, it's nasty, and it will flat light the tires up to the point you have to lift off or go straight in the ditch. And I love it. I love a car like this. What can I say? Now, to be serious, I'm a journalist, I'm supposed to tell you the more salient points about it all. This engine just really has a nice power curve, quite obviously. This transmission does the job, 8 speeds, whether you shift it manually by paddle shifter, works good, manually here, works good, or if you just put it in drive like I just did back there, it works good. And that says a lot, because a lot of these multi-speed transmissions that have more than 5 or 6 gears, they hunt all over the place and you can never really predict what they're going to do. But this one, they've got it tuned right where you want it. It really is a nice friend to have here. Now, one thing I do want to point out, this does have 4-cylinder mode for saving fuel, and if you didn't know it was there, if you didn't know it had that, when it's in that mode, sometimes you might think something's not quite right because it does have a different sound and a different feel, but it's not a bad trade-off for getting the kind of fuel economy this thing gets. Not a bad one at all. And to that end, the 4-cylinder mode is largely responsible for one of the best surprises this car had for me, and that is the fuel economy. The EPA rates it at 15 mpg city, 25 mpg highway with an 18 mpg combined rating. In my week with it, I saw 21 mpg combined all in. Whew. Now another thing, this thing's got a really kind of a hair trigger throttle. They tuned a hair trigger throttle into a car that's got nearly 500 horsepower right out of the tap. So what happens is when you try to take off from a stop, at least the first few times you get in this car and start to drive it, you tend to light them up. So it's pretty obvious I had a lot of fun with this powertrain. It's powerful, it's loud when you want it, it's refined, and it can actually get livable fuel economy. It's like a big dog that's still a puppy inside, especially when the traction control's off. But I like that, so it earns 5 of 5 stars. How this car handles is something I'm very familiar with. I've driven this chassis, this car, Chargers, Challengers, Chrysler 300s many times. I've always had high praise for them, and that's for a number of reasons. This chassis is derived from the Mercedes-Benz E-Class a few generations back when Daimler owned Chrysler, so it was born of good bones. Now it has evolved since then. It's gotten a number of improvements over the years. Electronic steering now, it's got more aluminum in some of the parts, and in general I think it's aged pretty well. Now in this particular packaging, it's got a pretty stiffly sprung suspension. It's got a very stiff ride, but it's not harsh, and there's a difference. If you've ever had a really harsh ride, you know what I'm talking about, and I like a stiff ride, so that's very good. Now, this highway that I'm on right now it has a pretty rough pavement. It's not a super smooth road. It's got a few curves in it, so I'm feeling the road surface very well through these seats. And the steering, believe it or not, even though it's electric, I am getting a reasonable good amount of road feel through the steering wheel. And when it comes to curves, because this is tight, it really lays into corners, well, just like glue. An important note on the Scat Pack is that the factory window sticker says it has the Bilstein 3-way adjustable dampers. Since I couldn't find the menu to adjust them, I looked underneath the car and lo and behold, they aren't there. Checking with my Chrysler rep, it was confirmed that the RT Scat Pack in fact does not have the adjustable system. Instead, fixed-rate Bilstein dampers. The window sticker and the Dodge website are incorrect in this matter, which I'm told they're aware of and working to fix. Now, this isn't a bad thing in terms of handling, just a point that you need to be aware of if you're looking seriously at this car. Just know it going in and don't believe the dealership claiming it's there no matter what they say. If the SRT performance pages don't include settings for it, it just isn't there. In the end though, the suspension, even without the adjustable dampers of the SRT, is obviously to my liking, and it fits well, I think, with the no-nonsense, no-frills character of the Scat Pack. I do wish, however, they'd found a way to keep the spare tire in the trunk. In any case, the chassis still earns 5 of 5 stars. The handling experience translates to the quality field too. It's solid and was free of rattle, shakes, and squeaks, even on the rougher roads with its tight suspension. Body fit and finish, as well as interior quality, were all remarkable for its price, earning it a quality score at 5 of 5 stars. Now, when it comes to safety, the IIHS requires a higher level than moderate for results of its small offset crash test for a car to earn top safety pick. And in that way, the Charger doesn't quite get there, though it does perform good on all the rest of their tests. Well, friends, wrapping it up for the Dodge Charger RT, not the Hellcat, but the Scat Pack, I'm impressed. I love it. Now, I have driven the Hellcat, albeit in the rain. That car was purely bonkers, something I might have said about this car back in the day before it wasn't the top of the rung anymore. But this really is, even with nearly 500 horsepower, it's very tractable, very dealable, very drivable every day. And that's why I like it so much. In fact, it goes on my I'd buy it list for 2016. I really would buy it. I've totally been on the configurator this week trying to figure out what would be the best package for me. And really, even though you can get the SRT, you can spend a lot more money on this car. This packaging level at $41,000, I think, is really where it's at. And that's why I think it's a really good value. And when you look at the fuel economy too, 21 mpg. I mean, in a car like this with nearly 500 horsepower, it's pretty hard to imagine that you can get that kind of fuel economy. And I was not driving like Grandpa either, believe me. It was totally near Ticketsville quite often. So all in, with everything else we've already talked about, 5-star value plus all those other things, we're at a total of 5 stars for the week. Very good. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Little personal story. Back when I was younger, and this is probably going to age me a little bit, I worked for a car dealership. This was in the late 80s. And we had this car come in one day. It was a Dodge Daytona Turbo Z. It was based on the K car, had a turbo engine, and that car was 2 things. And the first thing was it was fast. During its time, anything that had around 140 horsepower or better, it was considered fast. And it was just really something I've been looking forward to driving. But the second thing that car was a raging pile of crap. And that's not a slam on Dodge. All cars in the 80s were crap, American cars at least. They were unadulterated garbage. So the day I get this car to drive it, I have to take it to a Dodge dealer to get it fixed because the seat's broken. And what would happen is you could sit in it, it was just fine, but if you push back on it too hard, the seat would fall backwards into the back seat and you'd be staring up at the ceiling. So I get in this car to drive it, and of course the first thing I want to do is feel this turbo power. I was really excited to feel this turbo power. So I mashed the gas, I got a couple seconds of turbo lag, and then ba-boom! Into the back seat. Poof! Staring at the ceiling while I'm going fast down the street on a busy street. Anyway, memories. If you like the test drive you just saw, click on the link right here on your screen and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We test drive 1, sometimes 2 vehicles every week. Plus, we have a new video almost every single day. There's always something new. So stay tuned.